Hello and welcome to another edition of Dance Mama in Conversation. And today I'm absolutely thrilled to be back with this very, very special episode with Alice Marshall. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock and not aware of Alice's great work, she's a Derby-based artist, and just going to read some bit of highlights from her biography. So she's had an extensive performance career with people like Paul Bloom, the great Katie Green, who I work with a lot, and Kathy Seago. Alice has actually gone on to create Adaire to Dance, which is her own professional performance company that demonstrates the diversity of contemporary dance, and her own work concentrates on accessible dance and combining other forms of art and movement created. And she's often collaborating with Illuminos at the centre of her work. So as a choreographer and a performer, Alice has also taught dance to all ages in the community. And also as an academic, she's worked for Derby University, or University of Derby, should I say, as an associate lecturer, and gaining a variety of knowledge from institutions which has helped build the BA and the MA up there at University of Derby. And she's also amongst the team that wrote the courses and has subsequently become programme leader. Lucky students of Derby. As a lecturer, she's got a keen interest in the development and upholding of the work of dance artists. Go dance artists, and their strives to provide and present them with opportunities, with connections. And I personally felt that and benefited from that, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And in terms of her academic research that's been recognised, she's had papers printed across the sector, including Elliot and Advanced HE, and also has a book called Entertainment in the Performing Arts, which is a Routledge publication, and we also love that. And she's the start of a new work around the creative parent, which we'll also come on to in a bit. And of course, with all of that brilliance and just being an all-round fantastic, super fantastic human, Alice was awarded Derbyshire's Inspirational Woman of the Year Award in 2015 and was one of the 3 shortlisted One Dance UK Lecturer of the Year in 2018. So with all those fantastic accolades, can we welcome Alice onto the screen?
Hello.
It's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for being with us. So we've got a few things to talk about today.
Yeah.
We want to kind of find a bit more about you and how you work as an artist being a parent, but also there's a couple of brilliant projects that Alice has kindly invited Dance Mama to be part of that we really want to tell you about. But first of all, should we get to know Alice a bit, I think? So tell us, just give us an idea of who's at home and what's your family setup.
Oh, so at home, I have my lovely husband and then 2 very little girls called Robin and Ivy. Yes, I love Christmas. That is why their names are Robin and Ivy. Ivy's the youngest. She's nearly 2 next week. And then my eldest is 5. So very much in the trenches of parenthood, as you would say. And I've actually got one at home right now because she's got a sickness bug. So living it real, keeping it real.
Keeping it real. And that is totally what we're all about, is we can still work, right? And juggle and manage all of these things. And I love the fact that Alice is prepared to crack on with today. With that dual role going on. So just for you listening as well, we'll keep it short and sweet if that's physically possible for Lucy, because I like to talk a lot. So you've got a full house, you've got 2 under 5. How is that sort of manifesting and juggling with the lecturing, creating? Tell us about how that's going for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. So when my husband and I embarked on having a family, I was very clear that I would want to go back to work full time. It's as a dancer and as a dance academic, you really work to get to where you are, and I couldn't see me keeping my role if I wasn't full time. Now, that's probably incorrect, but in my mind, I needed to work full time. So once the girls came along, we knew I'd be going back. I had a year maternity for both of them. I owed them that, but then I wanted to go back. And so we've very much, I've had a very structured approach. We saw nursery fees as extortionate, but as an investment into my career. And we were fortunate enough to be able to do that. And we have parents close by, which is an absolute godsend. So my mum looks after my girls one day a week, and Ben's mum looks after the girls one day a week as well. So logistically, we have to be very organised, but it does allow for me to have full-time work. And in my role as an academic, my research is a huge part of my contract now, and therefore all that practical element of my work and choreography is all linked within my job. So I'm extremely fortunate. I know how fortunate I am that I'm able to do all of this under that one umbrella. But as today is an example, sometimes life and I'm working from home and my daughter's there, So, I'm still doing it, but we've got mechanisms in place to help me keep my career ticking,
Yeah.
basically.
And I think that is a huge key to making everything work, actually, whatever career you're in, but particularly for dance, because it's so consuming on
Mm.
physical, emotional, mental levels, that the
Yeah.
network that you've got, you really have to use them and lean on them. And sometimes it's not always easy actually for dancers to ask for help, because we're usually quite resourceful and we like
Yeah.
getting on with things ourselves. But absolutely, to all of you listening who are maybe embarking on parenthood, or those of you who already have hit that phase, draw on your networks. And if there isn't your family living nearby, then cultivating those friendships
Mm.
is really important and key to survival. Absolutely. While childcare, although there are the 15 hours free now, I think that is something that is helping. It's
Yeah.
still beyond that extortionate. How much can you realistically get done in 15 hours? There's all of those sorts of things which are hugely challenging.
Yeah.
And so through your own experience, you then came up with a creative parent. So tell us more about that project.
Yeah, so very much, and we'll come on to my path into motherhood. It was a bit dark in places, but once I was there, I realized suddenly how much becoming a mother had changed how I looked at my art form and how I looked at my work. I'd been very tunnel vision to that point. I'm a very tunnel vision person. And suddenly I thought, oh, this is really different. I'm such a different person. I cannot believe how much this has changed my work and my life for the better. And I wanted to hear from others. And I came up with this concept of the creative parent. So, very much looking at artists from mass range of disciplines who are parents and carers. And what the key thing I was looking at, which is actually the topic for my next publication, is does being a parent really change what you produce artistically and your output? Because I knew for me it has. It's 100% changed what I do and what I want to make. And I wondered if that was the same everywhere else. And so I then, with that, I started to see, and it's similar in the way that you have with Dance Mama, people really needing a network, people really needing support, people just wanting to chat, people just wanting to get in the same room, particularly after COVID. And I did the Creative Parent Symposium, which you, Lucy, were it's really lovely to have you there, where I just invited parents from the region, parents and carers who were artists or maybe had paused their artistry because of parenthood, just to come and have a day where their children were invited. And we had talks and we had workshops, and from that was the first one. And from there we sort of got socials where I'm chatting to some of them, and hopefully next year we're going to have, this year now, we're there, having an online symposium to capture more people because, you know, it's hard to travel somewhere.
Yeah.
And then another in-person one as well. And it's just very much, basically, it's a place to come and chat and have a cup of tea and a biscuit because that's so needed.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that sense of community, we're really used to it as creative people. I think there's so much value as well as being in the space with other artists and creators from different disciplines, because then you see some of the parallel issues as well as coming up with different ideas or different ways of looking at things. Probably some of similar moans to different degrees around sort of structural issues and systemic issues. But a real sense of camaraderie, which is beautiful. And I think there's lots of work going on and research, and Alice, you know, has recently presented at International Parenting and Dance Network as well, which we did hybrid over in the States, in a red state. I've got more to say on that I will at some point in the near future, not today, but you know, that came with its own challenges. And I think some of the work that's gone on already can be a bit dry.
Yeah.
And I think that sense of, especially when it's kind of something may be written when most creatives are out and about moving or playing or doing really practical things. So I think by having these symposium times where we can have that work presented, but then the conversation, the questions, the workshops, the tea and biscuits, and that practicality, it's really important because
so vital.
Yeah.
When I proposed the idea to my head of research, they were like, right, conference, symposium, okay, so you need to you need to get some abstracts together from people, do a call out, they'll have to pay to attend. And I was like, no, I don't want to do an academic conference. Do you not understand it? I want to, you know, get some flags out and some beanbags and throw them around. And the concept really blew their mind. But now that it's happening, and they did end up funding it, they gave me some money from their research part to just, you know, try this wild idea. And they loved that. It was different, but still, I still managed to get the data and the impact data that they wanted. I still got it. So for them, they're like, ooh, it doesn't have to be like that. And I was like, no.
Ta-da! Yeah, and I think there's also something, I know this is very opinionated for me, but I think there's also something quite wrong if you're going to somewhere where you're talking about dance or an art form and none of that art form is actually present. I think there's something really weird about that. But luckily, in my experience, in my career, I would say a majority or a vast majority of those sorts of symposium type days I've been to have had that programming of either a screening or a site specific, or, you know, your role playing a piano when it was back in the old music and dance scheme days. You know, I'm playing Flight of the Bumblebee. It's just extraordinary. Because the art form we work in itself and art forms have that energy and energizing animation that gets us all really excited, that then we're like, yeah, what is the data about this? What is the percentage of, you know, attrition? And I think also the way you presented that day enlightens those who are perhaps not working within our art forms academically. Just because you haven't got a formal setting doesn't mean you're not going to have a deep intellectual in-depth discussion, but you're in bag. And actually, we'd probably argue as dance people, you're closer to the floor and a bit more grounded and in your body to actually access some of those deeper, more interesting thoughts, rather than, you know, being somewhere more formal, which is great. So that was awesome. Can I also highlight as well that Alice was producing and performing that day and presenting and her daughter was also there. One of her daughters was also there. Your mum was there, but
Yeah.
also absolutely you were blending both of those roles together beautifully as a role model, and I thought that was gorgeous.
Yeah, I felt that was really important.
Yeah,
I'd said to people, bring your children, and I thought I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I didn't bring at least one of
yeah,
mine. Now my eldest is at school. I wasn't about to take her out of there, but my youngest, she's at nursery. I took her out the day, and yes, I did call my mum because I suddenly thought, oh gosh, I've got to perform, and I've also got to probably plug in some laptops. And my youngest is quite wild, and I knew she'd pull some plugs out. But it was beautiful to have her there, and it really made me feel, yes, this is the right thing, because I too felt safe having my child in that environment,
yeah,
and talking to people.
yeah.
So
And it was crucially, you've hit the nail on the head. There's no hypocrisy there.
no.
We are advocating for this kind of lifestyle, vocation, career. Mine are a bit older now, so they're at school today. So that's my disclaimer. But I think particularly on this issue, because it's so emotional and can be really challenging for people, the authenticity that you bring to your work, Alice, is
Mm.
really powerful and really important and hugely appreciated, because at the same time, what we're talking about is fun, it's great, all of those kind of ethical moral things are coming through, but it's not easy. And what you were able to show on that day was you've got the support there that's enabling you to do it, but it's not segregated, over there or over here.
No.
It's all part of our identity and who we are. And, you talked about that changing your work. So
Mm.
let's talk about Tender Steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell
So
us about the work.
yeah, so I had a rocky journey getting to motherhood, and I lost two children prior, my beautiful girls. One was a straightforward, and there's no such thing. One was a simple miscarriage, the other was a little bit more complicated, and I lost him quite late into pregnancy. So I have taken a long time to get to this point. That was a long time ago. And I really wanted to use my art form to raise awareness. In the past, I've made a dance film for raising awareness of long COVID, and that was a project I was doing with the university. And I saw the benefit of this universal language, making people go either, oh, I've got long COVID, or they go, oh, gosh, no, that was a thing, just through a simple, beautiful little film. And I thought, I want to do this for baby loss. I'm ready. I thought I was ready. I was very fortunate. I got Arts Council funding. Second try, I have to say. So keep trying, everybody. Keep going. And I do have my beautiful company, Adaire to Dance, which is now actually so we've been going 14 years, and now it's made up of two core members who've been there from the start, and then the rest are all actually alumni of my own, which have come through and performed, and I've grabbed them because I know they're good. And we work with a filmmaker, professional filmmaker this time, to create Tender Steps, which is just a one-shot film about the grieving process. It's not graphic, it's very interpretive. If you watched it and you didn't know what the context was, you just think, oh, this is slightly emotional. I didn't want it to be too on the nose. It's still a very sensitive topic. And even for those who've been through it, they might not want to relive it. They might not want to process it in that way. So that was very important for me to have it in that way. The other important thing was that it is my story. I didn't want to put my story on other people. So the film very much selfishly focuses on my face, which I have to come to terms with. I don't look as young as I used to. Because it's my story. But if it helps other people reflect on their own, or it helps others think about other people's story, then that's my hope. And that it's being released next week as part of Baby Loss Awareness Week. And it's all over the place, and there's a few exhibitions around the county as well with it. So yeah, that's Tender Steps.
I've been very fortunate to have a sneaky peek at this, and it's gorgeous. It's so moving, and it's set in I assume probably in the Derbyshire countryside, like a natural landscape. And I mean, I know you're joking about your face, but the facial expressions, particularly in the opening sequence, I mean, amazing acting as well from Alice. Amazing.
But, wasn't acting.
Well, the authenticity, right?
Yeah.
But in that moment you were. But pulling it all through is so subtle but so clear. And particularly what struck me was that you move from kind of sadness in kind of pretending to be happy, but you can see in your eyes you're still sad, and you've absolutely caught that so brilliantly. And I think watching that, obviously I'm kind of in this world and know bits and bobs about parenting and stuff, but it made me think of when you and I hope this was the intention of when you're having conversations with somebody at the school gate or over tea, and you see that expression come over their face, whether they're talking openly about baby loss or miscarriage, or they're hiding it. And I thought that was really beautiful in terms of educating people to look for those hidden emotions and what's going on under the surface. And I absolutely love the fact that you have abstracted it in a way that, you know, you're not necessarily in a hospital setting or that kind of thing in terms of the background, because it really takes you back to the nature aspects of it, the natural aspect of it, and the force that Mother Nature is to be reckoned with. And sometimes she can be exceptionally cruel.
Yeah. And that was my main reason for that site. So that site is in Derbyshire, as you say. It's called Oka Hill. Beautiful. And it's actually, it's in the little village I grew up in. And it was my brother's idea, actually. So my brother wrote the music, and he's my eldest brother, so he's about 15 years older than me. But he wrote the music, and he said, what about Oka Hill? Because where we used to go a lot. And he didn't actually know this, that I'd actually already planted a plant up on that hill for the baby I lost, because that was something my therapist really encouraged me to do. And then my sister, it's quite a family affair, my sister wrote the lullaby, which happens at the end. And now my sister is actually was an actress, trained actress, but has since become a child psychotherapist. And we had a slight therapy session where she got those lyrics, because she's not lived through baby loss herself, wanted to make it authentic. And so that's how the music emerged. And the music happened first, and then I sat and listened to it a lot, and I envisaged the whole thing, which is often how I work. And yeah, the beauty of the nature, like you say, was really important. I personally am not religious, but I know many people are out there and believe certain things, and I didn't want to offend in any way. I don't want them to think I don't believe that. So I wanted that essence of a child going on somewhere else, going to the sky, etc., that sort of thing. I needed that there. That's why we needed to be in the elements as well.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after this short interlude, reflections about Dance Mama from our community and partners.
Dance Mama for me was literally a lifeline. I'm excited to move my body without holding a human. Like, okay, yes, there's more people doing what I'm doing. Do you mean like it's not just me?
It's meant the world turning up today. It really has. I am going to get emotional. Sorry. It's just been so long since I've been in the studio and moving and doing it with a group of other women and not feeling like it's a problem.
The visibility of parents in dance is hugely important, because if you can't see it, you don't think you can be it. Everything is planned with the parent and the child in mind.
A whole hour to dance and be creatively expressive and share thoughts together in a creatively expressive way and do something for our bodies and our souls. I mean, amazing.
It's really important for Sadler's Wells to be supporting Dance Mama. Parents working in dance can come together and talk, have peer support and give that opportunity to continue their practice.
It's a sense of reconnecting to actually, oh gosh, yes, I remember. This is what I used to do. This is what I do.
Being a parent takes a village, and being a dancer also takes a village.
So I would just say get involved, because this community for me has been really life-changing.
It's just absolutely gorgeous. And the score as well, the piano, your sister's voice is amazing. I absolutely. And I think you can feel that infusion of people who have been with you on this journey so closely as family members, and then that also represented in the choreography and the dancers, and also the roles of all those people around you when you've been in that situation, what sort of support or challenge that they brought in that situation. It's super clear. It's just fantastic. And I was so touched to be asked to help you and for Dance Mama to help support you, as next week, or we're obviously recording a bit early, but the week of the 7th of October is Baby Loss Awareness Week. And for us to be able to present the work online on our site and have that link to it, because it's also been a difficult topic for Dance Mama to cover, because that authenticity, I've said it about a million times today, is really important to me. And lots of people kept asking, why haven't you talked about this yet? Why haven't you talked about that? I don't want to do that until somebody comes forward who's had that experience and feels they're in a place where they're able to talk about that.
It's a hard thing, I think, as a dancer. Your body is your tool. For me, it's the most amazing thing I have. I managed to train myself to be this incredible dancer. It always did as I asked my body. I'd be like, as long as I worked hard, I got really good at it. And then I tried to have a baby and it just didn't work. And I was cross. I was so cross with my body, because I was like, you can dance. You can do these incredible things. Why can't you do the thing you're made to do? And which maybe is a silly thing, but then also that physical recovery it takes time. And I was like, no, I'll bounce back, off I go. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't. And I also completely hated dancing after having my second loss. I hated everything about it. And I mean, I was very fortunate. I had an extremely amazing therapist who just told me to keep dancing. She said, you need to. And if you stop, you'll hate that. And I did. And I danced my way through my loss. It was my absolute, thing I held on to, even though I hated it. And I think that love-hate thing pushed me through. And I recovered and my body became strong again. And I was able to be in a place to try and go on that pregnancy journey again, which in itself was absolute hell. But I have beautiful results. I can't even get the words out, which is really unusual for me. You're so brave. I really appreciate your honesty, and how your work through producing this gorgeous film, everything that you've been through, and your just willingness to share that openly
so powerful and will mean a lot to lots of people. And I really hope that it helps unlock for them to talk about their, whether they dance or not, talk about miscarriage and baby loss with their friends, because it happens so many more times than I think people, unless they've started getting into starting a family, perhaps realize. It's still incredibly taboo and sensitive. And of course, just coming straight from a state where there's an abortion ban in place, huge challenges for people experiencing baby loss and miscarriage and not getting the medical care that they need.
No.
I think this work, particularly for Western, or obviously women, but people in general, it's all of us, I think right now has got even more meaning for our sisterhood and friends and colleagues in the States. And just
totally
gorgeous. And
thank you. And I think also I'd like to say I didn't do any of this without consulting with my husband first, because it is his journey as well. It wasn't his physical journey, but it was definitely his mental health journey. And he really is struggling with it because it's me. It's me. It's very raw, that film, but he's just so insanely proud. But his one thing was that he just wanted to make sure that dads had an opportunity to see this too, because they're not forgotten, but they're slightly pushed aside. Understandably, they're not going through the physical element of it, but it really affects them too. It was their child too. And so I think, this film's for all parents, all people affected by it, grandparents, and like you say, you don't realize people have gone through it. And I was so open. Like, I told all my students when it was happening, because I was like, they're all girls. They all need to know this. And so many of their parents then went, oh, yeah, that's something we experience. And it opened a conversation just by me being insanely open, maybe too open for some people. But, my own mum had lost a baby as well, which I did know. And other people came out of the woodwork. And as this film is being produced as well, I have a few different partners in the health industry that have advocate for the film, but then have admitted themselves it's the journey I've been on, and I'm even more passionate about it than you can believe. And I'm not made this film for people to have to talk about it. If you don't want to, please don't. You've got to deal with it in your own way. But if you can watch it and go, oh, okay, how I felt wasn't wrong, how I felt was okay. There was an element of me feeling, particularly my first miscarriage, it was an early miscarriage, I wasn't allowed to grieve. And that's so silly, isn't it? That I felt like that. But I think many people do. So if they can watch this and go, oh, I'm all right to feel a bit sad about this. And definitely I had that term, oh, are you over it now?
Oh, God.
No, I'm not. And that's, this film, hopefully I feel like the ending says, I've accepted it and I will live with it, but I'm not over it. I never can be. No. And nor should I be, really, for those little people.
And again, I think, thank you for your openness, because I think without talking about these things, the kind of potential for shame, challenge, further discomfort, unnecessary discomfort is greater. And God, what lucky students. I think they're really lucky to have you in that openness. And thank you as well for acknowledging how it's affected your husband and stuff. I think it's really important. And it's similarly in birth, isn't it, as well? They're kind of there cheering you on, but they're also a bit helpless.
Oh, they can't do anything. He's definitely said that. And the birth of our first was one of those. And he can't forget it. I'm totally designed to forget it. I've forgotten most of it. He's like, I can see it. vividly see it.
I can't unsee it, Alice.
Unsee it to the point where he's like behind his book for my second birthday. Like, just tell me when it's over. Just tell me when it's over.
Yeah, and sort of just around that as well. I mean, I have got a couple of stories about my own husband there at his own birth, like moving a car halfway through the first one because he'd double parked in the ambulance bay, that kind of thing. But in terms of just going back to kind of that early parenthood, did you feel you had good support from your university and also from your company members? Because I would imagine there might be a mix of parents and non-parents there, and them getting an education, so to speak.
I'm lucky, again, extremely supportive. I'm in an institution where my maternity leave and pay was really good. I'd been there a while. They knew I was coming back. They knew what I would do. I used all my kit days and took my kids in with me. You know, they were very fantastic. My company, particularly the core members, they're my best friends. So like they were around, and you know, accepting that what I was going through was a real shift, a real change, particularly what had just happened. I didn't do so well in the early days of my first child. I think it was an accumulation of what had been.
Yeah,
it took me a while, and the support was there, you know, friends and family. But yeah, when I went back to work, they're great, you know. And I'm a female young academic in quite a older male academic world, and quite often because I have a senior leadership role, when I'm sat in those meetings, there's these men, they're all granddads, so they're like, how are the kids? And you know, they just want to hear about it. So I'm really lucky. It's extremely supportive. But I think in terms of career and career progression, I'm not going to have another child. Now, that's partly age as well, and partly what I've been through, and like, good God, no, I need sleep. But I also think if I had another year out, that'd be hard. I think that would be really hard for me to stay on that ladder.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And again, these are all things that generally chaps don't really have to think about. They don't think about it at all. Alice, as we kind of come to a bit of a close, is there anything that you feel you want to say, or any advice you'd give to any young person in training, perhaps, who's looking at, you know, that mix of academic research and choreography career that you think would be, oh, I wish I'd known that?
I just think anything's possible. And I've always had that approach. I'm quite naive at times, and that's really helped me. And I think you need to, I have this saying to my students that, you know, I'm a silver lining kind of girl. You know, I get dealt a hand and I go, okay, let's make the best of it. And I think you have to do that. And my work shows that, you know, I've lived through something quite awful. I'm not saying I'm making the best of it, but I'm trying to use it to help others and to generate work for myself. I think academia is a great route to go into if you're really passionate about your topic. It's hard work. You have to get there. You have to do a PhD, which is like pulling your brain out through your ear. But if that's what you want, go for it. Also, as a woman, as a dancer, don't be scared of pregnancy. Don't feel like that'll be the end of your career. That doesn't have to be the case. One of the people at Creative Parent was Shelley, who's an outstanding dancer who has worked with many, many, many companies. And she was at Creative Parent, and she was 9 months pregnant. You know, she gave birth the following week, by the way. So we were very lucky. But she kept dancing right up to that point. She worked with companies she knew would support her. And recently I was catching up with her. She's back at work, but with her baby on her chest. And you do not need to think that you can't be that dancer. Now, if you want to stop and not dance, by all means, do that. but your body is your body. Your body's doing this wonderful thing growing, but it will still dance for you. And if I wish I'd known that a little bit with my first pregnancy, I was very scared, maybe because of what had happened as well.
Yeah.
I stopped dancing and, I put on weight and I didn't like moving, and that didn't help my mental health. So if you are a female dancer and you're a bit worried about pregnancy stopping you, it doesn't have to. If you want to stop, but it doesn't have to. And also, obviously, I've opened up very much about my baby loss journey. It is very common, but it doesn't mean it will happen to you. And I don't want you to go into parenthood being scared. The support is there if it happens, and I'm really sorry if it does happen. But equally, most people are just, make babies and carry on. You all have to give birth, though, so good luck with that one.
Well, Alice, I'm really excited about sharing and having the privilege of being an outlet and sharing your wonderful, wonderful work. I absolutely love The Crazy Parent. I love what you're doing with it. I think sort of 10, 12 years ago, when I started on the Dance Mama journey, I felt like a bit of a lone wolf. Temple, please. I'm really happy that there are more and more people doing more things, because ultimately I'm about keeping fantastic people like yourself making work, whether it's a topic about parenthood or not. As I fessed up the other day when the roles were reversed, the other day, Alice, still got a World War II piece knocking about somewhere inside. It'll come out at some point, I'm sure. But
next anniversary, yeah.
We need more women's voices, and we all know the evidence is all there now in lots of different countries. The reason why that representation is not there, because the support generally around this stage is really not as good as it could be. And I'm just so excited for this, a new piece of work coming. That is absolute belter.
Thank you.
It's just further demonstrating, look at the brilliant value that female artists can contribute to our weird and wonderful art form of dance. So we're going to wrap up there. Thank you, Alice, for being with us. Hope your daughter gets well soon.
We'll see. She seems quite sparky.
Thank you for just role modelling, being authentic, just being absolutely brilliant, and being a real beacon of fusing the academic side of things and the creative side of things. Just a wonderful, wonderful role model. We love that so much. And we're really excited to see the work being out there now, and the impact that we absolutely know it's going to have. So thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us and listening to Dance Mama's podcast. Whether this may be your first time considering parenting in dance as a thing, or if you're a parent in dance and this has resonated with you, come on over to the Dance Mama site, that's www.dancemama.org, and see what other ways we are inspiring, informing and connecting people with families in dance, because we help parents in dance move their worlds. Bye for now.